Welcome to Scotland. Welcome to the Triumph Tiger 1200. So we just wrapped up our ride of the 2024 Triumph Tiger 1200. There are kind of some small changes with the bike that have been bigger engineering feats than they might seem on paper. We learned a lot about that during our tech presentation, and let's get into a little bit of that. So Triumph has decided to increase the inertia of the engine, which is something that I've found Triumph has done so much to make these engines lighter, but in an adventure and an off-road situation, you probably want a little bit more spinning mass so the bike isn't as easy to stall. I've noticed it most on the Scrambler 1200 models. So it's kind of, for me, it's a welcome advancement in these bikes. It's always weird to hear a manufacturer walk around how they don't want to say that they've added weight to the engine. But we were able to talk to the guys and discuss exactly how they did it. And it's pretty cool. Like the amount of weight that they added to the crankshaft of these bikes was done from a forged crankshaft, which while hot, they twist to get the lobes in the right position so they can machine them in the right way to get the weight as far out to make the entire piece as efficient as possible. So they get that heavier weight farther out while the thing is spinning, and that really increases kind of the almost flywheel effect of the engine on these bikes. They've also added weight to the alternator rotor that goes around there. And again, we're all in this adding of weight and doing it so precisely that it's really just managing, kind of giving it an extra heavier flyweight feel, which is going to help obviously in off-road settings, but even when we're out here today riding around slow speeds through towns, things like that, the bike feels smoother at really low RPMs. And I was letting the bike lug down to 1500 RPM, and it was climbing up small hills. Like I wasn't touching the throttle or the clutch and just letting it kind of lug itself up small hills, and it was able to do that pretty easily without shuddering or anything like that. So that is the effect of what they have done to this bike. Again, the other small changes, clutch lever, seat. I found the seat comfortable on the other one. But another thing that we've been seeing since Harley-Davidson kind of knocked it out of the park with their adaptive ride height function is Ducati has this now, Triumph now has this. There's a, they call it an active preload reduction. So what you can do on these motorcycles fitted with the suspension, and you can actually do it retrofitted on previous models with the same suspension, is you can push the home button. So it's an existing button, you don't need to get a new switchgear. You can push and hold that button, and it lowers the seat height with the shock, pulls that preload out by about 0.8 inches, which on the GT model, I could give or take it. On the rally model, it was, that bike's already pretty tall. So for me with a 30-inch inseam, being able to get my feet on the ground was pretty nice. The thing that I noticed today, being in Scotland, riding on the other side of the road in the rain, it was hard for me to remember to keep using that function. I think it's something that it's great that Harley has that and set up automatically. With this, if it's your motorcycle, if it's something that one of the big reasons you bought this motorcycle, you'll remember to do it, but it's easy to get this set up the way you want it. And when you push that button, it's going to stay low. If you're just bouncing around town, you don't really need the proper geometry of how the bike would handle out in the canyons. And so it is a really cool function. Overall, during our ride today, the bike has always been fantastic. Since we rode the bike in 2022 for the 2023 Tiger 1200 model, with this revision from the previous version of this bike, it is absolutely night and day. This has been a stellar motorcycle in all 4 or 5 configurations that they had made it in over time. For 2024, the US is only getting the Explorer models and not the Rally Pro. But then for 2025, we'll be getting the full model lineup, which will include all 4 models, the Pro versions and the Explorer versions. The Explorers are going to be the more long travel versions with the bigger tank, almost 8-gallon tank. And so for the Explorer models, those are going to be the kind of top echelon, a little bit more expensive, but you're going to get the bigger tank, almost 8 gallons, heated seats and grips, as standard, the TPMS system, and the rear-facing radar for the blind spot monitoring. The only other minor change with the GT model is that the foot pegs are a little bit higher and a little bit inward, just to get you a little bit more ground clearance. Because I remember touching those down the last time we tested this bike a little bit, but that was under extreme conditions. I'll say between these two models today, having them both out on the road, twisty roads, I mean, we're in the rain all day, but I actually really prefer the handling with the Rally Explorer. It seems like the front wheel, despite it being a 21-inch front wheel, maybe it's the 90 profile, it just seems to turn in really quickly, and it's almost with the weight, maybe from the bigger tank, it seems very stable the entire time, and I really liked the Rally Explorer. On the GT Explorer, I felt it almost wanted to stand itself up in corners sometimes, and I really do think it's down to the profile of the front tire. Again, it's got a smaller front wheel. It's got a 19-inch front wheel, so you'd think it'd be really quick and, you know, carve up the corners, but between the two, it almost felt reluctant to turn, and I felt like I had to really push the thing into the corners a bit with the GT. So for me, handling wise, I prefer the Rally Explorer. I will say with these updates, it's really cool. We learned a lot about crankshafts. We learned all sorts of cool engineering feats that came into this and why they did it and everything. But without the previous model here to ride, I'd kind of be hard pressed to say these feel completely different. The things like the active preload reduction, obviously that's a new feature, and again, you can put that on any model with this suspension setup, previous models. But without being able to ride the previous model back to back, I can't say that this feels like an entirely new motorcycle. It's great. It was great before. It still is. It's got some new features, but without having a chance to ride them back to back, I think it's great. It's probably good, but I can't say for sure. But yeah, guys, that kind of wraps it up. If you want to get a full breakdown, specs, photos, my thoughts when I'm not still damp from the day, head on over to Motorcycle.com, check out the review. Thanks for watching.